All right, here we are, Marshall Sutcliffe. I've got Brian David Marshall. I've got Randy Buehler with me, and we're watching Patrick Chapin against Kentarou Yamamoto here in the World Championship semifinal match. Now, this is actually a review session. I haven't seen this yet, but it's not happening live for us. You guys have seen a little bit of it, and we're going to see how this plays out. Now,
yeah, this is the
I know
match.
the ending, but I'm not going to spoil it here, and we're going to watch how this match plays out.
Yeah, this is the match that was going on off camera when the live coverage of Worlds was watching the match between Shahar Shenhar and Yuya Watanabe. So basically, game one of that match is also going on off to the side.
What does it take to upstage Patrick Chapin? The last two winners of
Playing
the World
against each
Championship
other.
and the Players' Championship playing against each other.
That's right. But we knew you wanted to see what happened in this match. So here we are, and it looks like Chapin has started things off with a nice play for him, a Thoughtseize on turn 2. And his opponent has revealed a Courser of Krufix, a Murderous Cut, a Sultai Charm, the big boy, Soul of Innistrad, and of course, the Whip of Erebos.
Wow, takes the Murderous Cut. I was
Wow,
thinking Whip would be
very
the choice
aggressive.
there.
So Patrick
He must
Chapin's
have a good creature draw.
Patrick Chapin's playing Abzan mid-range. His opponent's playing Sidisi Whip. This is actually one of his worst matchups, certainly game one, although he does have a pretty aggressive plan for it after sideboarding.
I heard a couple of pros say they thought it was 90-10. They admitted that they may have been exaggerating a bit, but that it was really, really bad in game one. Now, when we go to post-sideboarded games after this game, that changes significantly.
I mean, the game one thing is Pat cannot beat a Hornet Queen. If Hornet Queen resolves or even gets whipped back into play, he may as well move on to game two. But that's not 90-10.
Okay.
There's a lot of stuff that happens before we get to that
Perhaps
point.
82-18.
You have to get to 7 mana and cast the Queen, or you have to resolve a whip.
And you've always got, of course, those draws where you do this kind of thing where you Thoughtseize your opponent,
Right.
and you set yourself up with like maybe a pair of Siege Rhinos, and they're just like, yeah, I'm falling behind and I don't have great blocks, and then the game ends.
Yeah. Courser of Krufix seems like a big card on both sides of this match for me, like just in terms of smoothing out your draws. I mean, even your opponent having Courser is pretty big in terms of getting information there. You see.
Yamamoto agrees with you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's like, I'm going to wait until you reveal your next card before I kill that.
Yeah, Sultai Charm has the ability that doesn't get used that often. You can destroy an artifact or enchantment with it.
I've seen it a
Yeah,
lot
that guy used
this
all the
week.
time.
It's getting more and more.
So there's 4 land for Chapin. He's like, I don't need to draw that.
Is this a Rhino?
It is a
It's
Rhino.
got to be a Rhino. If he's shuffling away Hero's Downfall, it has got to be a Rhino.
I don't think he has anything else that costs 4, does he?
I'm trying to think of his Planeswalkers. I don't think so.
Yeah. He's got a Johnny and...
Well, a Johnny. He's got some Elspeth.
Or actually, he could have a Sorin too.
Yeah. Oh, sorry. There you go.
So here's Siege Rhino, though, as predicted.
So Siege Rhino comes in. 3 life lost for Yamamoto. 3 life gained back for Chapin.
It's basically what he lost to the Thoughtseize and the fetch land.
Yeah.
I think he had to tap the paint land, too. It's a Land of War waste for black. Yeah, second Rhino hanging out in Pat's hand.
So there's a Courser of Krufix. It reveals a land on top. Plays land. It's Yavimai Coast. And another Courser hanging out beneath it. Oh yeah, there's the other Siege Rhino.
So this is one way that Chapin can just steal a game here,
Right.
is just by running Siege Rhinos into each other back to back. The coast is clear here as well.
Right. Willie Adel called this card Bloodbraid Rhino earlier in the week.
Playing it in Modern.
Yeah.
What used to be a Jund deck and is now an Abzan deck, because white man has got a little more to offer than red does these days.
It's even better, right? I mean, it hits the same spell every time.
Yeah. Right. It always bolts your opponent for 3.
Helix is them.
Yeah, Helix is them, actually. That's right. Did you see a Lightning Helix off the top call for me, Randy? Except he always cascades into Lightning Helix, so it's not as exciting.
Slightly less dramatic.
It's also slightly less dramatic. I gotta say, Courser of Krufix can be a frustrating card sitting in the booth sometimes. You always know what's on top.
Yeah.
Although it does create some really interesting interactions between the players, like we saw with the Sultai Charm, where you let your opponent draw before you do it. We also saw Chapin doing that in the finals.
Yeah, it's valuable information for sure. So Chapin way ahead at this stage of the game. It's still early. in the match, but we're in the middle stages of this game, turn 5 here, and a pair of siege rhinos facing down a lowly courser. This is going to have to be a big turn for Yamamoto.
Yeah, with a whip looming on top for him.
Yeah, that's the good news.
Yeah, the late game here favors Yamamoto dramatically. The whip gives him the ability to recurse his creatures. Soul of Innistrad lets him pick up 3 threats and replay them if after Patrick's dealt with them.
Siege Rhino doesn't know what late game is.
Exactly. The way Patrick, you talk about how does Patrick win this game? He wins it by not letting it get to the late game. He has to win it in the mid game with, can be Siege Rhinos, can be Planeswalkers.
Okay, well, here's a Whip of Erebos also from his hand, and that's going to prompt a Scryland to ship it to the bottom. Doesn't need that second copy. Can Chapin even kill a Whip?
He has, in main deck, he has 1 Utter End. That's it for the main deck.
Okay, so basically no. And there's another Courser of Crufix on the battlefield here. He even hits a land immediately. So things moving really nicely here for Chapin. I mean, he's way ahead on all metrics here.
Scries away card reveals Sorin, Solemn Visitor. Oh, he's got Murderous Cut for the cursor.
Crunch. Yamamoto can't have much life left.
You know what? I think he's at 1. Yamamoto's at 1 at this point. So this game is all but over, as Yamamoto doesn't have any way to sweep the board or do anything that major
He
here.
can whip back a Courser of Crufix here.
He does have this Soul of Innistrad, though, and he even has the black mana to cast it and not die. This
Maybe
does
he's at 1
keep him
now.
alive if it stays.
Oh, the life link would offset the other Siege Rhino going
Correct,
around it.
but barely. Of course, any removal spell from Chapin. Or actually, isn't it just good enough with the Courser? Can attack with his Courser of Crufix as well.
Oh,
How about
Sorin.
we just add
How about
even more?
Yeah, everybody gets an extra point of power. That'll do it. Now those creatures hit for enough to even offset the life link from the soul, and Yamamoto scoops them up.
Sometimes a 6/6 with Death Touch and Lifelink just isn't good enough, and Patrick Chapin scoops up the first game pretty convincingly too.
Yeah, Siege Rhino into Siege Rhino. That's how you win that game.
Yeah, well, that's the 10%er.
Run
That's
the
the game he's not supposed to win.
It's
It's a Magic player 10%, Randy. It's
okay,
close.
so it's actually like 35%.
It's actually closer to 35 to 38%.
Yeah, sounds about right.
You haven't run it through the converter yet. Clearly.
It's like the Euro.
What do you know about the sideboard for these?
Patrick has a
players?
lot of cards that are relevant. The crucial thing that he's going to get is he's going to get some sweepers. So Hornet Queen is just death for him in game 1, but he's going to go to his sideboard. He's got 2 copies of End Hostilities, and he's got a Dune Blast. So 3 sweepers. He does not have any Drown in Sorrows, but the cards that he put in when he cut the Drown in Sorrows are actually quite good in this matchup anyway, which is Anafenza. Anafenza turns off all the Sidisi shenanigans, no fuel for the whip, and no zombies from Sidisi.
So I had a chance to talk to both of these players about their sideboards, and they gave me their plans for what they were going to do for game 2.
Oh.
Hi, everybody. Brian David Marshall here with a sharply dressed Patrick Chapin as we discuss his semifinal. Patrick, who did you play test with to prepare for this semifinal match?
There were so many members of the Channel Fireball Pantheon qualified for this that we broke up into sort of smaller teams, and my core playtest partner was Paul Rietzel, but also I tested with a few people who weren't qualified for the event, Matt Sperling, Kai Bodie, and Michael Jacob, and super happy to have such a strong support network.
Absolutely. Now, you have a lot of cards here in your sideboard. Which ones of them are you going to be bringing in for game 2?
So against Yamamoto, I'm actually a little bit behind game 1, but sideboarding is where I'm going to have most of my game plan. I sideboard in almost everything. I'm not going to sideboard in Glare of Heresy or Nissa.
Yeah.
Probably. But
Probably. I like it.
But the other cards I rotate through. I also change which cards I take out in each game, depending on if I'm on the play or the draw, and to keep him guessing, because some of my cards, like Wingmate Rock, are just not particularly effective. They're just too slow and not what the matchup's about. But some of my cards change, like for instance, Bramaz. It depends on how aggressive I set up. Sometimes I want to be really aggressive, and other times I want to be much more controlling. There's a little bit of a guessing game that's going to go on between us.
Okay.
Anafenza the Foremost is one of the key cards. It gives me my best way to fight all of his graveyard interactions. And then End Hostilities and Dune Blast give me, as well as Bile Blight, give me important ways to actually beat Hornet Queen, a card that game one is basically just game over for me. And Read the Bones and Liliana Vess give me more ways to find the answers I need so that I can survive sort of in the mid-game. One of the interesting things about our matchup is that so at the very beginning of the game, I can be aggressive and I'm ahead. But he very quickly becomes bigger than me and takes control. But then I can actually take it back because my middle game is stronger. But if the game goes too long, he takes it again. So if the game goes really, really long, it's really hard for me. So there's going to be a lot of back and forth.
Okay, well, good luck, Patrick. I'll let you get back to your match.
Thank you.
Brian David Marshall here with two-time Pro Tour top 8 competitor Kentarou Yamamoto. So please tell me who you tested with to prepare for the semifinals here at the Magic World Championship.
マジックオンラインで日本の友人たちとテストして、あとは渡辺裕也からアドバイスをもらいました。
Okay, he using Magic Online. He was playing against his friends who are in Japan this week, and talked to Yuya Watanabe too, and then got some advice.
Okay, and so what is your plan after game one when you go to your sideboard?
メイン戦はエロボスイップとホーネットクイーンがとても有効に働くので有利なんですけど、サイド後は軽蔑的な一撃とリーパーザワイドとリグタイムスローを入れて形を少し変えて戦います。
Okay, the first game, the Hornet Queen and the Erebos Whip, is it Whip Element?
Whip of Erebos?
Yeah, are very effective. But after the sideboard, he's going to add all four of the
Disdainful Stroke?
Mm-hmm, and then Dig Through Time and Reaper of the Wilds.
Okay, well, thank you. Good luck in the semifinals and the World Championship.
Thank you.
All right, so this brings us to the second game of the match with Patrick Chapin up a game.
On Kentarou Yamamoto.
So early stages here.
That's called the
But this-
Thoughtseize stage.
This could be. So the matchup's significantly different now.
Yeah, I mean, I still
the
think
way it plays
Sidisi, I still think the Sidisi whip deck with that awesome late game is slightly favored, but now it's only a small edge. I mean, it might be a big enough edge that, going first, Patrick is favored.
But 3 Bile Blights, the End Hostilities.
Oh, he's
the
got lots of
Dune
game now.
Blast. Yeah.
He's got plenty of game, for sure.
But interestingly, like the things that we've discovered is a lot of players end up having to take carry addeds out of their deck to make room for those cards. They have
Right.
to take out some of their early game. They have to stunt it a little bit because they're expecting to go into this very late game stage.
The other key thing about Yamamoto's deck is he only plays 2 copies of Hero's Downfall. So Patrick's Planeswalkers can actually stick and really cause problems. They're hard for Yamamoto to remove.
All right, I see that now that we've got 2 Whip of Erebos and a Reaper of the
Wow,
Wilds,
takes
which
the
is
Reaper.
that's actually what Patrick's going to take away here.
Well, I mean, you don't want to take one of the 2 whips.
Yeah, you just want to strand it.
So it's just, do you need to take Disdainful Stroke or get rid of the Reaper?
Disdainful Stroke, also a good option in a lot of positions here.
Reaper's pretty good, though. The activated Death Touch can kill a lot of Patrick's creatures.
Okay, so Courser of Kruphix does see a land, but since we're on turn 3, he can't actually play it from his library. So Yamamoto has to settle for a pretty nice turn 3 play here and pass a turn back.
Does Pat have turn 3 Anafenza?
That's what I'm wondering. Absolutely. Bang. 4/4 on turn 3, ready to run right past that Courser of Kruphix.
And ready to shut down any Sidisi shenanigans.
That's Hero's Downfall on top, though. He can, if he's worried about that Anafenza, he has a way to deal with it.
True. It then means he's down to 1 Hero's Downfall for the rest of the game.
I think the decision here is he might need the untapped land from a polluted Delta here if he wants to play Sidisi's Whip, which means, if he's going to play Whip of Erebos. Thank you. He really wants that.
He wants the Downfall.
Downfall.
I mean, the Whip isn't going to do much if Anafenza hangs out. It's just going to get the 1 Reaper once, right?
Well, and give lifelink, but yeah. All right, so here comes Anafenza. That's going to drop Yamamoto down to 16.
Courser Kruphix reveals Read the Bones, a card Patrick really likes, something that came in out of his sideboard.
He's He's got a good history with Read the Bones. And Chapin passes a turn back. Yamamoto draws the hero's downfall. He's still got a polluted delta he can use to shuffle away anything that he doesn't want on top of the library.
You see the Reaper of the Wild, that's also a sideboard card.
We
For
see
Yamamoto.
two of them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Will either of them get into play?
Yamamoto considering his options here. I think he wouldn't mind seeing a Reaper of the Wilds.
He plays a Scryland.
I guess he doesn't want
Doesn't
that.
bother.
He keeps it and just passes
He's
against
like,
it.
I've already scryed.
Yeah, so what he's really doing here, though, is he's leaving up Disdainful Stroke. He must be very concerned about what Chapin can do on his turn, and he doesn't want to shuffle away now two really good cards on top of his library either.
He's also got up the downfall. He may wind up just pointing that at Anafenza.
Ah, right, the downfall in hand, of course. Yeah, so this turn ends up being kill on Offenza, I'm assuming then.
That's my guess.
Pre-combat.
Yeah. You don't want to let Anafenza randomly stick a counter on the Courser of Crufix.
Wow, he kills the Courser of Crufix.
Wow.
Interesting. I mean, it is a very good card. But Anafenza is both large and hosey.
Large and hosey.
Chapin's going to crack his fetch land as a response to the hero's downfall. He wants to get the life from this land before the Courser dies.
And also maybe a little more information for himself.
As to what he's going to draw next
Yeah.
turn.
And maybe that changes. I don't know what he has in hand, but maybe, if he has an outer end that he's considering using or not considering using, or if he's going to draw one. Although free fetch land is nice.
Not too bad. It's a Bile Blight. So Courser of Crufix hits the bin.
Get a little bit of the sound of the tournament being taken down around us.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're in kind of the hazy afterglow here, but I really want to know what happened in this match as far as the details.
Anafenza attacks.
That's going to drop Yamamoto down to 12.
And then Read the Bones for Chapin. We saw that on top earlier.
Sure. Did an Elspeth along with the Bile Blight? Push the Bile Blight, draw the Elspeth?
Yeah, that's exactly what he does, Randy. You were on.
And
Ooh,
hostilities.
and hostilities as well.
I don't think he wants to cast that end on
That's
hostilities
what
anytime
it's for, yeah.
soon. It's like, I'll wait till you kill my Anafenza.
Exactly.
You deal with this first. Is that Urborg, Tomb of Yawgmoth? So black mana no longer an issue for either player.
And here's Reaper of the Wilds hitting the hand for Yamamoto. Yamamoto has seen enough of that Sylvan Caryatid. He's going to shuffle that away.
And plus he gets another shot at having a land on top to play for free with Courser.
Especially with Reaper of the Wilds, you want as much mana as possible to be able to activate that.
That's a much better draw.
Ah,
Would have been better with a land on top of it, but we'll take it.
Yeah, right. The second best thing you can see on top of your deck is a Hornet Queen. The first is a land over a Hornet Queen.
yes. So what's this turn look like for Yamamoto?
That's the Hornet Queen sandwich. Land, Hornet Queen, land with a Courser of Crufix in play.
Yummy. He still has that Reaper of the Wilds in his hand. He's also got a Whip of Erebos.
And the whip does not seem super exciting.
No,
right now.
but the Reaper seems pretty decent. Well, we know he's not playing the Whip now because he's attacking.
Yep, and there's your Reaper of the Wilds. 4/5 for 4 mana. It's just such a good bargain that should stonewall that Anafenza.
True.
Yes. It's also difficult to kill.
Utter end off the top. That's not bad. Does he have an Elspeth too, though?
I think he also has an Elspeth.
I mean, land Elspeth is good on any board, isn't it?
It really is.
I guess he knows the Hornet Queen's probably coming relatively soon.
Well, not for at least 2 turns.
Yeah, it's going to be a while.
And I don't know, did he keep the Bile Blight?
No, he pushed it.
Oh, he pushed it.
Looks like he's not going to go for the Elspeth here.
Yeah.
The shields were down for Yamamoto as far as Disdainful Stroke goes.
Yeah, and I guess that's why he's one of the reasons he's going to
But yeah.
other end. Just
Get
that
his
outta
beat
here.
on.
Get that thing
Get
out
that
of
off
here.
camera.
And he's going to keep on attacking.
I love the way Bile Blight interacts with Hornet Queen here. Like, he's got Bile Blight instead of Drown in Sorrow, but Patrick's actually happier to kill the tokens and leave the queen in play in a lot of situations.
Well, that is interesting.
It's like, don't want her in the graveyard. She can get whipped back from there. The other thing I found funny talking to him, he's already worked out if you leave them with the Hornet Queen, but you have Elspeth makes 21 tokens before the queen takes her down. He just added off the top of his head. 21 tokens. Good enough.
Wow. All right, it's finally time for Whip of Erebos to hit.
And that's a 2-point life swing there. Patrick takes 2 and Yamamoto gains 2.
Yeah, I think Yamamoto's at 11 now.
Still 2 mana away from Hornet Queen territory. There's a Disdainful Stroke on top of Yamamoto's deck. So if you're going to play that Elspeth, now
the
might be
time.
the time for Patrick.
You can Thoughtseize first. Even better.
Whip, Queen, and another Disdainful Stroke.
It's a pretty nice hand, but Hornet
Wow,
Queen
yeah.
no longer.
And Offensa doing work. The queen heads toward the graveyard. Oh, I can't quite get there.
And takes a slight detour to the
Yes.
exile zone at the last minute. And look at Patrick Chapin firing on all cylinders now.
Chapin's best girl.
Wow.
Elspeth Suns champion.
Yes, he has had a lot of success.
I think Elspeth was
Playing
getting
that
jealous
card.
of Anna Offensa. I'm his best girl. Come on.
Well, they're both here for now. And Chapin, what a great turn for him. He took away the best threat of his opponent and put his best threat down. Meanwhile, played around Disdainful Stroke as well. So
Right. Now knows his
Yikes.
opponent's got 2 of them that he doesn't have to give him the opportunity to ever be able to cast them. He can essentially mulligan them in his hand.
right, just strand them. The sad news for Yamamoto is that he doesn't have much else to do anyway. His other card's another Whip of Erebos. This doesn't have any relevant plays here. The only decision is, do I attack? And the answer is
Well, he
no.
can whip back Air of the Wilds here.
Yeah, there's one air.
Oh,
that
is
got
there
to
an
the-
air in there?
Yeah, but they got Thoughtseized before Anna Offensa hit the table.
Ah, okay, so he does have decisions to make then. Always decisions.
I keep saying Air of the Wilds, but it's Reaper of the Wilds.
Right. You've been drafting too much.
I have not been drafting enough.
Both of those things can be true.
Fair.
All right, he decides not to whip back the air of the. You got me. You got me, BD. Ooh,
Siege Rhino.
Siege Rhino up, and we see him getting down to business here for Patrick Chapin as he sends the whole team into the red zone.
And Offensa gets to put a counter on something.
I think Courser's going to block
Very,
that
very
one.
temporarily.
No.
Oh, but here's Bile Blight to prevent any lifelink shenanigans. And the
Not
counter
only-
gets to stay, too.
Yeah.
And that's a lethal attack thanks to the no lifelink. And Chapin, I got to say, pretty quickly here, up 2 games to 0.
Absolutely.
Wow. This is kind of a beating.
Yeah, this was pretty savage.
Yeah, we were surprised when we were watching Watanabe Shenhard. It's like, what? Patrick's up 2-0 already? What? But this is the point now where these guys go on camera.
Yes.
And basically, they start playing their game 3 while Watanabe and Shenhar are shuffling.
Right. So we'll pass it over to the live
Right.
commentary.
Every single match, every single game Chapin played from here on out.
Yeah,
We
basically
got
every
to-
game for the rest of the
yeah,
tournament
Yeah,
is
we
on-
got
is
to
on the
have
live
on
stream.
the
Okay.
live stream.
All right. Good.
And there you see the feature match area, the players waiting patiently at the back table for us, where Patrick Chapin, the innovator, is already 2 games to the good over Kentarou Yamamoto, and Yamamoto will get us underway here in Game 3. And Randy, you were saying that the players very much seem to have sideboarded into a pretty grindy strategy here, pretty controlling.
It's definitely the case that Yamamoto has a lot of that in his deck. I think Patrick, it depends. When he's on the draw, in particular, he likes to take a lot of the creatures out of his deck, or at least he sometimes does. But I mean, Patrick's definitely mixing it up. He definitely has different plans for being on the play versus the draw. I mean, this draw is obviously not exactly blistering.
Even if he brings the same 13 cards in every game,
Different cards can come out.
different cards are going to come out depending on the scenario and what he learns about Yamamoto's deck.
Now, I think all the versions of Patrick's deck, though, are going to have those 2 on offenses.
So
It's definitely a
against
power.
Sidisi? Yeah.
It's an incredibly powerful card against the Sidisi whip combo. I mean, the fact that creatures don't go to the graveyard means Sidisi's not generating zombies. There's nothing getting there to come back with the whip later. It's just an extremely powerful card in this matchup.
So 2 Siege Rhino, Utter End, and Thoughtseize plus lands are the hand that Yamamoto has written down. So that's the information he has right now. Thoughtseize will go away. So now a fair way off before Chapin can do, in theory, anything. Double Siege Rhino and Utter End is his hand that Yamamoto is aware of. Now with 1 additional land in play for the very sharply suited Patrick Chapin. Again, we see him deciding to sort of go with the look good, play good approach.
Yeah, absolutely. It's something he's done for all of his top 8 appearances since his return to the game. I mean, if you remember, even going back to that World Championship.
Oh, yeah. Different color tie today, I think.
Yes.
Sorry, Kentarou, thanks for taking one. I want to see what you've
Oh,
got.
there's no land in that hand.
Bad news, I play more than 1 Thoughtseize.
Yeah, what, or just bad information. It's probably not news. So there's Yamamoto, who now knows what Chapin has got to see in terms of Yamamoto's hand. There you are. You've got the Soul. You've got Hero's Downfall, Doomweight Giant. There you see Reaper of the Wilds, the 4/5 down at the bottom.
The card there,
Hiding out
which is the worst news for Pat, is the Soul of Innistrad.
Okay.
He does not want Yamamoto to have access to Soul of Innistrad because a lot of the ways Patrick can win these games are just he can play a grindy game. He can kill things. But if Soul of Innistrad ever gets into the graveyard, it's just this looming threat that eventually Yamamoto is going to get to the point where he can just pull them all back and just go threat for the next 3 turns.
Right.
I tell you, I can't believe how many times I've already seen sideboarded games of Standard Magic where the scripted turn 2 or turn 3 play is Thoughtseize away your disdainful stroke.
Sure. Sidisi came off the top for Yamamoto. That's pretty good. Oh, but no land. Right. It's not good. He needs land.
And Patrick's going to start deploying Siege Rhinos here.
Is he going to be given time to get back into the game for that 1 missed land there? I mean, are we at the point of red alert, or is the 1 miss kind of acceptable?
Well, this Siege Rhino can get Heroes Downfalled. Now, that's also one of those 2 precious Heroes Downfalls capable of killing Patrick's Planeswalkers. So there's definitely a window here where Patrick wants to try to close the game out. I don't think Yamamoto's at quite red alert, but if he misses the next land drop, then he's in trouble, especially if he draws something he can't cast, right? If he draws a 4+ mana card next turn, this may be way under our expected length of this semifinal.
Yeah. If he finds a land that comes into play untapped, he can play Reaper of the Wilds.
Or Sidisi.
But we also know that Patrick is holding Utter End, and he won't have the mana to give it hexproof.
Hornet Queen, that is terrible draw for Yamamoto.
And let's not forget that the red alert happens a lot more and a lot louder when you are 2-0 down in the best of 5.
And another Siege
And
Rhino.
the Siege Rhinos travel in packs.
Oh, boy.
Patrick Chapin, ladies and gentlemen.
Usually at the back of the pack. Very excited to see them.
Closing in on a 3-0 sweep.
It's a pretty good poker face. I don't know that I'd be able to hold the smile back right there.
Now, come on, have a land, please, Yamamoto.
Oh, flops his cards.
Did he get a land?
Don't
He's
think so.
looking. Body language says no.
Oh.
He did. Okay, that's kind of a start.
Trying to decide if he wants to hide behind Sidisi or hide behind... he does.
And we see land,
Hit.
Reaper of the Wilds, and another land go into the on into the graveyard, which means one zombie comes onto the battlefield, as per the instructions on Sidisi. Nonetheless, this next phase of the game begins with Kentarou Yamamoto 2-0 down and on 12.
There, look at Patrick's hand. Siege Rhino.
Oh,
Utter
Elspeth?
And Elspeth.
Has he got 6 mana yet, or is he on 5?
He's got that forest in his hand. I think that's the 6th mana.
I think you're right. Wow, all 3 of those spells would be awesome this turn. It's just like, which is the better line? Take the window to resolve an Elspeth. Remove the Sidisi. Yeah.
Yeah.
Somehow just playing a Siege Rhino, I think, came in 3rd this turn. Wow. Elspeth did good work for Patrick in Atlanta.
Did some good work for him last round as well.
Is the lady going to get it done again for Patrick Chapin?
Sounds like Watanabe's taking a mulligan to 6 on our other table. They haven't started game 2 yet.
So Yamamoto trying to develop a board, but it's a board that has a Planeswalker on the other side of the table.
Yeah, Kentarou can't really pressure this Elspeth. And we talked about how the Soul of Innistrad was bad news for Patrick, but that's later. Right? There's this window where like Pat is usually the early aggressor, and then with Sidisi, Yamamoto can sort of start to take control of the board. But once Patrick's Planeswalkers come online, we're in that window of the game where Patrick and his Planeswalkers are ahead. The true late game belongs to Yamamoto, but I don't think Patrick wants to get there.
Yeah, bypassing step 2 of that explanation, Randy, is a big deal for Chapin, where Yamamoto is trying to have his take a bit of control of the early mid-game, but at the same time, we're already at Planeswalker point. Phase 2 and 3 are jamming against each other right now.
That's fair.
And that's great news for Chapin.
Yes.
Over on table A, they're underway, and Watanabe resolved a Goblin Rabble Master, but it quickly ate a Bile Blight.
Patrick's going to cast End Hostilities here. Clears away the Sidisi. Gets the Sylvan Caryatid. I think that was what put him over the top.
Yes, absolutely.
Kill your Caryatid.
Regenerate my tokens.
You know, trade Sidisi for Siege Rhino is kind of a fair trade. But yeah, Elspeth gets to make more tokens onto a clean board now. Wow, no land for Kentarou.
So now Chapin goes into battle once again with 3. Presumably he will make another 3. Here they come. So we're 2 attacks away right now. And Chapin is going to dump onto the board. Here's a Siege
One attack
Rhino.
away now.
1 attack away indeed, and we are 1 attack away from Patrick Chapin into the World Championship final. And he doesn't blink an eyelid.
Taking care of business.
Who
Dress
is
sharp,
this man,
play sharp.
Brian David Marshall?
Yeah, I mean,
Wow.
Patrick Chapin, since his victory at Pro Tour Journey to Knicks, has said, there's only one thing I've wanted to do in all the 20 years I've been playing Magic, since 1994, when I heard about Zach Dolan being the Magic World Champion. I wanted to be the Magic World Champion. And he's been just head on in that direction ever since.